Hi, folks. You're watching a very special edition of Sipping Off the Cuff. I felt it was necessary, Felipe and I'm here in Southern California. That gentleman out there is.
Felipe de Herida, and I'm in Essex, England.
Now, Felipe and I, off camera, some of the best conversations we have about what we're tasting happens off camera and before we get on camera. And Felipe and I we're still we spent 28 minutes talking about Tequila spirits, to Kiwi spirits to Kiwi blue agave spirit. Okay, we had to go through the entire one sample to extract what flavor notes we could, and there's a reason for that. We discerned that in the original video that was an example of how adaptable the plant is to its environment. Whereas Felipe and I have a bar for mezcal and sotol now, and of course tequila. The plants coming out of Mexico are more stressed. They technically they live in probably iron-rich soils or areas where they're more arid. But New Zealand, where tequila is located, where Kiwi Spirits is located, is more rich, has a very interesting microclimate, and Felipe mentioned off camera that Terry Knight had to do what? What did he have to do with the soil?
He scrubbed, I suppose he got the bulldozers in and just took a layer of the topsoil of just to stress the plants because everything was just. I assume by what I read was that it was just too. The soil was too good.
Yeah.
The plants weren't stressed enough, so they were just going.
Yeah. Now,
How's that?
we didn't mention, but we should. If you want to follow Kiwi Spirits, you can follow them on their Instagram. They're totally transparent. They show you where they have the plants grown, how they take care of it, as well as their other liquors. And they're an award-winning distillery. These guys are. This gentleman Terry Knight's no slouch. Okay, but anyway, so Felipe and I were ruminating about what we would do with this spirit. And you mentioned, go ahead and tell people what you were telling me about off camera, what you would actually do with this spirit.
I don't know. It's just so delicate. I was thinking, I don't know when I would have it. Wouldn't have it, prior to a meal or afterwards. I wouldn't want it if I was out socialising. It's just so delicate. It's like sort of like sit in a hammock or just sit out in the yard and watch the clouds. It sounds very arty-farty about it, but it is. It's just so delicate. You just there'd be no. I like having a drink with a smoke, like a cigar. I mean, I don't touch cigarettes. I don't like them, but even a cigar, anything would just be too overpowering. Even a pipe, a really sort of like calm blend. If you're in a pipe smoking, I think anything would do it. I think I said it was like. In the end, it's too delicate even to put in a glass. It's just so.
Yeah, it's.
What do you do with it?
I told Philippe off camera. It's almost like he doesn't even want to drink it. It's almost like you just want to baptize your children or something. It's like holy water, you know. I also mentioned that probably, yeah, I know, right? It's just the power of. Was it the power of the Lord compels you? The power of tequila compels you. Anyway, for those of you who are Episcopalian and Catholic, anyway, what I said was, yeah, I thought this is a very contemplative sip. It's like Felipe says, you have to, not that you have to be in the mood for it, because sometimes you're in the mood for an añejo. Or you're in the mood for a really great mezcal, or you're in the mood for something different. This one is you have to be with your thoughts. There's not. I know you can, obviously 80% of tequila in general is consumed in the US in a cocktail, and probably the same goes for in the UK. But I would say that this is one that you have to, like Felipe says, you have to be in a hammock. You have to be. This is agave on vacation, okay? It's just,
Definitely.
it's really literally, and you feel that. So it's relaxing. It really, it forces you to slow down.
It's the catamaran, isn't it? It's just
Yeah,
buy an island and that's it. It's like, what do you want? Oh, what have we stopped? I have one of those, and that's it. It's just that's all I can do. That's my description. Is that?
yeah. It's a very contemplative sip. I think if you were going to pair it with anything, and we like pairing here, you may have heard us in our other tastings, and I do it with all our TJs. I ask them, what would you pair it with? What would you do with this? I ask Alex all the time because he's a big cocktail guy. And with this, the only thing you could pair this with is your own personal thoughts.
I wouldn't even pair it with a book.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
just sit there, just you and your own glass. That's it. And just not if you're stressed. It's not a stress reliever.
no,
Nothing like that. If you've just got a moment, you're feeling a bit kind of like you get those moments of clarity where everything kind of goes into one and everything. All your numbers come up, everything aligns. It's one of those. If you can just snap out of that, or just at the end of that, go, I'll have a quick shot of that with
yeah.
it, just to sort of like keep the vacation going.
Yeah, exactly. And I defy you to try to hurry through this. You're just you cannot appreciate this spirit if you don't take your time, because it starts to talk to you. and
Mm.
and I think this is, I'm a big believer in infusing spirits with your intention. That's why I'm such a big fan of Gnome 1414 and any of these tequilas that are fermented while they're playing Mozart in the background, in the fermentation tanks, or open air fermentation where, like they do in various microclimates of Oaxaca. Everything uh, during the if you've taken our tequila, our consumer catador course, I have a video that I point people to that is Ron Cooper discussing the microbes that influence open air fermentation. Every 100 meters or so, there's a different set of microbes, and all of that influences the environment, influences what you're getting in the final spirit. And maybe that's also what we're getting. I'm not sure how they're fermenting. I don't see that. I would imagine it's stainless steel. And I'm not sure if it's open air or if it's covered where they can control the temperature and how fast or slow I'd imagine he's doing a real slow fermentation.
Mm.
I'm not even sure what he's using as yeast. We don't know any of that stuff. And
I
that,
I
yeah,
did read that he propagates it in a hothouse behind the distillery. I don't know how
yeah,
commonplace that is, really. I've never really thought about it, but it just made me think. You've got this beautiful view, north of the South Island, New Zealand. Nice calm breeze coming in. Good distillery down the back. There's just all these little tiny agave stuff. I mean, if you go on their website, There's a video on this. They've got plenty of videos on of them just steaming, not steaming it, what I'm about, but just spraying them. I think he said something like he had to spray them feed them water once, like every 6 weeks or 8 weeks or months. I can't remember what it was now, but
yeah.
they don't get much treatment.
No,
They
they
don't get
don't.
much love, just to keep them stressed to get
Yeah,
that
and
coming
here
up.
here you are. This is as stressed as probably he can get. Maybe he can figure out another way to stress them. I don't know. But yeah, so I think what we're getting to is the intention of the master distiller as well. I think that has a lot to do with it. You can tell, folks. You can tell when something is handcrafted and where the hand of the maker. The hand of the maker is also the intention of the maker. And I think that's what we're getting here. We're getting a combination of a whole bunch of things here. On the surface, you're getting the terroir, of course, but I think it goes deeper than that, because that's why I figured we would do this really quick video, because we were coming up with stuff like, yeah, I mean, what do we pair this with? Pair it with your own thoughts. I think this is something you could journal, with this. Like you said, you wouldn't want to read a book with it, but maybe you could write a book to this. I don't know. You know.
Yeah, it's like if you're into painting or you're a composer, you always see this pictures of Beethoven with a pencil behind his ear, and he's like scribbling away. But you should just sit with that
Well, you know,
and
this
do
is
it. It's like a muse almost.
yeah. The last time I had something this smooth, this I don't even like using that word. This approachable, this clean. It was last year. We got samples from Ecuador, and it's a spirit called Chawar Mishke. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I may have mangled it several times. But technically, what Chawar is a distilled pulque from their agave plants. And when I first had it, I wanted it to be gamier, but it wasn't. You know, I've had canned pulque that's available in the United States. There's only like one guy that's bringing them in, and he's very difficult to get. But I've had pulque out of a can, so I've not had it from a pulqueria yet. I will. But in any case, so I was expecting something more along the lines of that. And this spirit was because it was distilled pulque almost, charwar, but it was very light and very soft. And I actually did that video with Eric Zandona, who he's one of the board members of the ADI, American Distilling Institute. And we found that it was going to be very interesting to see where they go with this because, and they're going great guns. Now it's available. Since that video, it's available now in Florida and California and Texas, and that was very gentle, but it was different. It's not as contemplative as this one. This is one you want to be left alone with, I think.
Yeah. I've got one sample. Was that you? Is that a mic go? I've only got this one sample left now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with it, Mike. It's
I
calling me out.
You might want to save it for when you write your memoirs or something.
I'll start later.
But anyway, that I thought that it would be worth talking about it. That again, I wanted to thank the folks at Kiwi Spirits for making that happen. I know they moved heaven and earth to get it to us.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah, and whenever you're doing Mr. Knight, keep it up. I keep entering your spirits in contests. I know that they asked me if I knew of any international contests, and I kind of gave them the name of a couple of them. And we'll see. Maybe we'll see more of them out in competition in other countries.
I would like to try the whiskey.
I would too.
That's not me trying to plug anything, or because I know it's everything. But the whiskey, if that's the water for that, and how it makes that taste and expand out on the palate, the whiskey's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know what the whiskey's going to be like because I would never have guessed that.
Yeah, me neither. I think I mentioned the first video is that they are resting some of this Kiwi spirit, but they're not sure what they're going to do with it, and they're not sure. This whole thing is an experiment and it's still in its infancy.
Could you imagine this rested?
Well, you know what? But see, if you're going to rest it in their own whiskey barrels, I want to taste the whiskey first, so I know what to expect when it comes out of their barrels. Because here's why. We had I think I mentioned we had an agave spirit from an American agave spirit from Western Reserve that they rest in their own whiskey barrels, and they make a bourbon. They make a bourbon whiskey, and it was so good that now I want to try their bourbon. You see what I mean? Because and we also tasted one. I did one with Jim in Ohio for Cutwater Spirits, where they're a small distillery here in California in San Diego, but they make a tequila in Mexico. So they're one of those that they travel to the distillery and they have the hand of the maker there. He gets to use the whole, it's his version of tequila made in tequila. but they rest their repo and the añejo in their own whiskey barrels. Same thing, different profile, because it's the Cutwater profile, it's the Western Reserve profile. So yeah, I would like to taste the Kiwi distillery profile of their whiskey, so I know what to expect when we eventually, maybe someday, get a Tequila, reposado.
Yeah, well, if we get a sample of a repo, could you please send a sample of the whiskey as
Yeah.
well? Just, for scientific purposes.
Just yeah.
The
Anyway,
control.
folks, yeah, that's just ruminating about tequila spirits. I thought it'd be worth taping a little extra segment here, but you've been watching and listening to a special edition of Sipping Off the Cuff as we a conversation about tequila and kiwi spirits. Again, thank you folks for making that happen. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube or listening to us on the podcast, hey, if you've had it, let us know. Tell us what you think. And again, as always, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.